when Keith Thurman fought Sean Porter, Keith Thurman fought Danny Garcia. But when Keith Thurman fought Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, world titles were on their line. So for two champions, Errol Spence Jr. and Bud Crawford, to be holding on to all four of the belts right now, it just hurts the welterweight division as far as making some of the most exciting fights, because some of the most exciting fights deserve that title. I believe that a lot of fighters could be champion if there wasn't Errol Spence and a Bud Crawford currently holding on to all the belts. I believe that a lot of fighters could be champion if there wasn't Errol Spence and a Bud Crawford currently holding on to all the belts. You know, if the belts were free floating out there, we would have a lot of young champions right now, and there'd be a lot of new action. So we just have to wait to see what manifests in the welterweight division.
Spence and Crawford is supposed to be unifying titles at 147 in the fall or at the end of the year, the latest. Keith Thurman feels those two holding titles are holding back the other big fights that can be made at 147. I agree with Keith Thurman if the fight's not made this year, because these guys are no spring chickens. And actually, I think this fight should have been made 3 years ago. It took Errol Spence, 5-6 years to collect 3 belts? That's ridiculous. And even though Keith Thurman has a valid point, the reason he's saying this is he's bitter. Keith Thurman could have fought Bud Crawford a couple of times, but he decided to go the Errol Spence route, even though Errol Spence didn't want nothing to do with him, because when Errol Spence was coming up, Keith Thurman wouldn't give him a shot. And even though Errol Spence kept saying, I'm not going to fight him, I have no interest in fighting Keith Thurman, he has no belts, Keith Thurman still thought he was going to get in. The only way Keith Thurman has a chance to fight Errol Spence is if the Terrence Crawford fight does not materialize. And even then, those chances are slim, because Errol Spence is talking about moving to 154 if he doesn't get the Crawford fight. The only reason Keith Thurman is bringing up, well, these guys could be young champions in the division, but Terrence Crawford and Bud is holding it up, is because he's bitter, because he's not in the mix with those guys. And he doesn't want to fight a Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, two young guns that could put Thurman back in title contention if he could beat them. But he doesn't want that smoke. To me, it seems like Keith Thurman don't want to take any risky fights unless it's a title shot. But I also will say this. If these two cannot make the fight, talk about Crawford and Spence, the money issue, or whatever, if they can't make the fight by the end of the year, they should fight these young guns, Ortiz, Jaron Boots Ennis, or move up, vacate the titles, let the young guns show you the true definition of strap season. Crawford and Spence is a fight I want to see, but how long am I supposed to wait for it? Crawford will be 35 in September. And you hear people say, well, Crawford never aged. Crawford takes care of himself like that. Father Time is undefeated. I do not want another Mayweather-Pacquiao fight when they're past their prime. Anyway, leave your thoughts and comments below. Jay Beezy, I'm gone.
Then when I stop him, they'll say, hey, so when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak. On my mic. And he stayed out on 47. Too long.